Greetings from Flare Stories again. Please remember to subscribe to our channel if you like this video so we can post more stuff that is captivating and thrilling. A voyage of intimacy. The air was sultry and full of expectancy on this hot July evening. The moonlight crept through the slats and slivers, giving the hardwood planks a soft glow. My breath caught as I pressed my ear against the bedroom door, trying to hear any sounds coming from inside the house. Every sound seemed to be amplified by my racing heartbeat. The rain started outside softly at first, then steadily and rhythmically, and the soothing melody of the roof patter only made my veins tense. They were naked on the bed, their bodies intertwined like vines around one another, their skin shining with perspiration and passion. I hesitated for a second before forcing open the door just enough to get a glimpse inside. Imagining myself in my mother's place, feeling the unadulterated closeness between them, I felt my breath catch in my throat as I watched them move together, their movement fluid and primal. A color rose to my cheeks. Time seemed to go on forever as I stood still outside, enthralled with what I was seeing. The constant rain on the windows served as a metaphor for the internal storm that was raging within me. My mind was racing with contradictory emotions, embarrassment, curiosity, and an unexplainable sensation of connection, and my fingers were shaking as I unconsciously gripped the door frame. Eventually, the sounds within subsided to a whisper, and the rain began to gently drizzle. I crept back into my room, where the bed was cool. The subtle aroma of jasmine from the garden outside my window blending with the scent of the rain. My mother discovered me still in bed the following morning. Her gentle and circumspect voice informed me that she had seen me the previous evening. Her words hung in the air between us, heavy with unspoken implications. I struggled to fall asleep for what seemed like hours, but finally exhaustion won out. Sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains, creating dappled patterns across the floor. "I understand why you were wondering, sweetie." She started off slowly, her gaze warm but serious. Her revelation startled me, leaving me feeling both relieved and perplexed. "Last night," she went on, "was something intimate yet yes, but it's also part of the natural cycle of life." She reached out to gently grasp my palm, and I could feel her warmth through my pajamas fabric. "I want you to know that we can have an open discussion about anything you're having trouble understanding or if you have any questions." The thought of seeing them again was both overwhelming and oddly alluring, and by that time the rain had finally stopped, leaving the air with a new scent. An all-new start. The line between innocence and experience may have blurred in the night, leaving behind a lingering feeling of intimacy with my parents at that precise moment, not only as their daughter but also as someone developing into womanhood herself. My thoughts were broken by my mother's words after I had understood it. In a sweet yet forceful tone, she continued, "If you're willing to understand more about this, I think it would be helpful for you to see us completely." Her words, full of potential and meaning, lingered in the air between us. I paused for a moment as the weight of this new information settled inside of me. The room felt bigger, and the boundaries between us were no longer clearly defined. It's not just about watching her go on, her eyes full of understanding, it's about learning, about seeing the depth of our connection and the trust we share in that moment. I realized that this night had marked a turning point for our family bond as well as for my own understanding. The door to adult knowledge had opened, revealing the intricacies and beauty of human connection in its purest form. The invitation was both thrilling and terrifying, and the weight of it bore down on my impressionable heart. The following night, I was standing in front of my parents' bedroom door again, but this time I was not an intruder but rather a participant in a strange kind of sex education. My mother smiled warmly at me, her eyes showing a mix of understanding and worry, and she motioned for me to sit on the edge of their bed, placing herself next to me, while my father stood by the window, his eyes directed away from us and outward. Even though the room was dimly illuminated by well-placed candles, I could still feel the intensity of the moment growing as the air grew warmer and my heart raced, with each beat resonating in my ears like a nearly tangible thumping. My mother clasped my hand in hers and gave me a comforting squeeze before turning to her companion. "Leighton, begin," she whispered softly, my fingers shaking a little as I gripped the blanket's edge. The action played out in slow motion. With gentle yet purposeful movements, my father drew nearer, tracing the contours of my mother's body with gentle touches that seemed almost reverent. The sound of skin against skin replaced the rustling of fabric, creating a primordial symphony that profoundly resonated with me. The sensation of being both a witness and a participant was overwhelming as I watched with a mixture of fascination and unease, my skin prickling with awareness and my breath catching in my throat as their motions became more intense. The air thickened with an electric tension. Despite my initial unease, it seemed like every moan and gasp reverberated throughout the room. I became more aware of the subtle changes in desire and emotion that were occurring in front of me. With her face flushed with excitement, my mother's eyes were closed in rapture. The rain outside had intensified once again, a tempest reflecting the whirlwind of emotions inside me, and my father's features softened as he leaned into her. Their connection was profound and unquestionable as they moved together. Almost like a metronome, the sound of water hitting glass matched my pounding heartbeat. My mother's touch became more intense as she leaned into her partner, their bodies perfectly aligned. Their adoring and respectful gazes revealed their mutual trust, and their fluid and synchronized movements created a beautiful yet raw dance of intimacy. The air in the room became thicker with an almost tangible intensity as my father's hands explored her body, his touch gentle yet powerful. My mother responded to him with equal passion, and their bond grew stronger with every second that went by. Outside, the rain had turned into a fierce downpour, and the sound of water hitting glass was getting louder and louder. Never ending as they gave in to the moment, I saw them move in unison, their bodies entwined like vines around one another, their faces flushed with desire, and their breaths coming in ragged gasps. The air was heavy with an almost tangible tension, a symphony of intimacy that struck a deep chord with me. As the intensity increased, I could feel my own heartbeat. As I gripped the blanket's edge, my fingers shook a little, and my skin began to tingle with awareness. The peak came quickly, their bodies moving in perfect harmony, and everything seemed to hold its breath before releasing it all at once in a collective exhale that was both powerful and profound. Everything seemed to be suspended in time, with the rain gradually stopping and the room falling into a calm afterglow. My mind was racing with conflicting emotions, awe, admiration, and an inexplicable sense of connection. As it began to dawn within me, the line separating innocence and experience became even more hazy, leaving an enduring impression on my spirit. My parents exchanged loving glances, before turning to me and smiling at me, saying, "Do you have any questions?" My mother asked in a quiet voice that was full of kind support. I paused for a second. The burden that this new information is placing on me, it was an unspoken recognition that I was maturing into a woman via the shared experience of intimacy and understanding as my mother's invitation hung in the air, like the smell of rain on fresh grass. The room was bigger now, and the boundaries between us were less clear. I came to see that this evening had been a turning point for our family's bond as well as for my own understanding. The door to adult knowledge had opened, revealing the intricacies and beauty of human connection in its most basic form. The evening concluded with a lasting afterglow of emotional warmth, leaving behind a memory-etched image. Two hearts beating as one under the soft candlelight while raindrops gently kissed the windowpane outside. In the days that followed, I found myself reflecting on what had transpired. The experience was both unsettling and enlightening, a bridge between my childhood innocence and the complexities of adult life. One evening, as dusk settled over the house, my mother approached me again with a thoughtful expression. "Are you ready to talk about it?" she asked, gently. I nodded slowly, still grappling with the emotions that lingered within me. It was overwhelming at first, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper, but seeing them together, it made me realize how much love and trust they share. My mother smiled softly, her eyes understanding. "That's exactly what we wanted you to see," she replied. "Intimacy is not just about physical connection, it's about the emotional bond that holds two people together." The conversation flowed easily after that, with my mother answering questions I had never dared ask before. She spoke openly and honestly, her words a balm to the confusion within me. As we talked, I felt a deep appreciation for their willingness to share this momentous experience. The dynamics of our family would be shaped by this act of trust and love in ways I couldn't yet fully understand. In the weeks that followed, my perspective on relationships started to change, and the lines separating experience and innocence kept getting blurred, giving me a renewed sense of self-awareness and respect for the complexity of human connection. I came to the realization that this journey had deepened my understanding of love and trust, taught me about physical intimacy, and taught me about vulnerability and the ability of shared experiences to create unbreakable bonds. One day as I sat outside by the garden fountain watching the sunset, knowing that this experience had opened doors within my heart and mind, a journey towards womanhood marked by love, understanding, and the beauty of human connection, I closed my eyes and allowed the moment to sink deeply into my soul, a memory forever etched in my heart for the rest of my life. The night air grew cool as the stars started to twinkle overhead, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of jasmine from the nearby bushes.